right, let's jump right in. We're looking at this object that is, well, both beautiful and completely bizarre, and it comes to us from the very dawn of civilization. You could call it a masterpiece of ancient art, but honestly, it's more like a 5,000-year-old cold case.
I mean, just look at it. At first glance, you just see this stunning piece of ancient art, right? So carefully crafted from silver. But the longer you look, the weirder it gets. This isn't just some animal figurine. No, it's something else. Something totally different. A really deliberate and mysterious mix of beast and human.
You know, for literally thousands of years, this little guy has kept its secrets. So, what do you say we start digging? Let's see if we can unlock the story behind this incredible masterpiece.
Okay, so with any mystery, you've got to start with the evidence, right? So we're going to begin by examining the object itself. Think of it like a key piece of evidence in a true historical cold case. First up, let's just try to wrap our heads around how incredibly old this is. It was made somewhere between 3100 and 2900 BCE. Now, just think about that for a second. This was a time when the world's first cities were just popping up. The very first written words were being pressed into wet clay. The Great Pyramid of Giza? That was still hundreds of years away. This thing, it's a true survivor, a voice from the absolute dawn of civilization. And the material it's made from, that's a huge clue. A study back in the 70s confirmed it's 98.5% pure silver. Now, back then, refining metals was an insanely difficult job. So to get that level of purity, well, it tells you this wasn't just some casual trinket. This was a precious object. It would have taken incredible resources and some seriously skilled artisans to make. But here's the thing. For all that importance, it's surprisingly small. It's just over 6 inches tall. You could literally hold it in the palm of your hand. So this wasn't some huge monument for everyone to see. No, its size suggests something much more personal, right? Something meant to be held, maybe, during some kind of private ceremony? And this is where we get to the central puzzle, the real head-scratcher. It's this wild mix of human and animal that just doesn't have an easy answer. You've got the head of a powerful wild bull, but then human-like shoulders and this kneeling pose, almost like a worshiper. It's wearing a decorated robe, but its arms, they end in hooves. And get this, it's hollow, with little pebbles inside that make it a rattle. But it can't even stand up on its own, no flat base. Every single detail is another question mark. So the big question is, who on earth made this thing? To figure that out, we've got to zoom out of it and look at the world of the people who created it.
We're talking about a group called the Proto-Elamites. They were this incredibly advanced civilization in what's now southwestern Iran. They were around at the same time as the early Mesopotamians, the Sumerians, but they had their own totally distinct culture. And what's so frustrating for historians is they had a written language that we still can't read. Total mystery. Now here's where it gets really interesting. This whole mixing human and animal thing, that was their signature move. It wasn't a mistake, it wasn't a one-off. Just look what happens when you put the kneeling bull next to another one of their masterpieces, the Ganola lioness. You start to see this pattern, this obsession they had. These artists were clearly fascinated with creating these powerful, upright, almost human-like animal figures. All right, let's follow the next clue. Why a bull? I mean, of all the animals they could have chosen for the special creation, why this one? Well, the choice of a bull was definitely not random. For thousands of years, all across the ancient Near East, the bull was one of the most powerful symbols you could find. I mean, ever since it was first domesticated way back around 8000 BCE, the bull was at the center of religion and mythology. By the time our little figurine came along, the whole man-bull idea was already a huge deal. Yeah, as one scholar put it, the bull basically represented everything that mattered. You're talking raw power, fertility, gods, divinity, and even protection from evil spirits. It was the ultimate symbol of both natural and supernatural power. So here's the key takeaway. When the artist merged a bull with a human form, they weren't just making up a cool fantasy creature. They were doing something profound. They were combining the sacred divine power of the bull with the mortal form of a person. They were creating something truly supernatural, like a bridge between our world and the world of the gods. And this incredible idea didn't just stop with the Proto-Elamites. Not at all. In fact, our little silver bull is really just the beginning of a super long tradition. Its legacy would grow and evolve over thousands of years. and eventually becomes something way more fearsome. You can actually trace the whole evolution of this bull-man idea. It kind of starts with early figures like this one, which comes from a seal found in Susa. It shows this horned, human-like figure that scholars call the master of animals, basically showing his dominance over the natural world.
Fast forward over 1,000 years, and the figure gets way more complex and a lot more powerful. Check out this golden goblet from a place called Marlick. The master of animals is now a full-on monster. It's a two-headed hybrid that's part human, part bird, part big cat. The power is getting more abstract and, frankly, more terrifying.
And all of this leads up to the absolute peak of the tradition, the massive lamassu. These things were colossal, human-headed winged bulls that stood guard at the gates of Assyrian palaces. They were the ultimate expression of this whole idea, a terrifying mashup of human intelligence, the raw strength of a bull, and the dominance of an eagle, all of it designed to project pure imperial power. Okay, so now that we have all this context, we know who made it, what the bulls symbolized, and the legacy it created, let's go back to our little silver guy and try to figure out what it was actually for.
After all that, we're basically left with two main theories, and honestly, both are pretty convincing. First theory, it was a ritual rattle. The pebbles inside make a sound, so maybe it was shaken during a ceremony. That makes sense. But theory number two, it was a foundation figurine. This means it was intentionally buried in the foundation of a temple to make the ground sacred. The fact that it can't stand up on its own makes this seem really plausible. And if that's true, it was made with the intention of never being seen again. Just imagine that.
So, what's the answer? Well, the honest truth is we don't know for sure. Without being able to read the Proto-Elamite language, without our own Rosetta Stone for their script, this 5,000-year-old case is still officially unsolved. We have some really strong clues, but we don't have the final piece of the puzzle. But maybe that's what makes this little object so incredibly special. It's not just a thing, it's a keyhole. It's a tiny window into the mind of a civilization that we can't hear from directly anymore. It speaks to us in this visual language of power and myth and ritual that somehow we can still understand today. Its mystery is just this powerful reminder that every single silent artifact we find was once part of a living, breathing world full of people just like us. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other masterpieces are still buried out there, holding the secrets of our ancestors, just waiting for their story to be told?